What's going on, guys? It's Ritable Tanker, and welcome back to Axis and Allies 1951 Europe. Turn 14. Alright, so. Excuse me. Alright, so it is March 1952, and like I covered at the end of the last video, the random event went against the Soviets. They had to occupy all the Polish territories by the end of their turn, so as not to lose the income for those territories. Initiative. I don't know what's going on with the red dice that I'm rolling, but they're rolling high. The initiative went the Russians, the Americans, then NATO. It's just not going well for the Allies in this initiative roll. Excuse me. Alright, the Soviet Union. Alright, so the Soviets had 92 to spend. They bought 3 infantry in Stalingrad, 3 tanks in Kiev, 3 self-propelled guns in Smolensk. 3 Katyushas in Smolensk. 2 mech and a Katyusha in Warsaw, and then 5 infantry in Moscow. Combat. So the Soviets only did one thing of combat this turn. They took their Tu-4 from Warsaw and they came over and they attempted to bomb the NATO factory here in Holland. They were successful initially and were able to damage the Dutch factory for 5 damage. Non-combats, seeing the massive threat to their south, the Soviets used all the rail that they could and all the nearby units here to get units down here to Rostov to try and block the American forces that have entered into the area from the Middle East. And then at the end of the turn, the Soviets collected 83 IPC. Alright, over to the Americans. What is going on here? I think I messed something up here. Did I mess something up here? I did. I did not put all the American infantry onto the board. I don't know why I did that. Okay, so the Americans are supposed to have with their what'd they collect? They collected 80, or no, they had 79 IPC to spend. So they're supposed to have 6 infantry, but for some reason only got 3 out. I'm trying to figure out what went wrong, but real quick. So I will grab at least 2 more infantry. I will grab a couple gray chips. Oh no. So let's do this. I won't flag these as any divisions right now until I kind of figure out what was going on with that. Okay, so 6 infantry, 2 of them I did give them a flag under the 103rd Infantry Division. They also bought 2 mech flagged under the 79th Infantry Division, and then 2 tank regiments that are again going to reinforce one of the pre-existing armored divisions out on the board. And then finally they bought 2 fighters. Alright, combat for the U.S. The U.S. launched 2 major combats this turn. First, the U.S. Army pulled together as many of its units as possible and launched an attack into the Caucasus. Wait. Oh no, that battle already happened. What am I talking about? Jeez. Sorry, read the wrong page. Okay, so all the combat took place in Turkey this turn. My apologies. So the U.S. took some forces here from... they took some of their forces from Syria, and then their force from Tunisia, and then all their Air Force assets, and launched an attack on Ankara, where the Soviets were moving 12 infantry units towards the battle lines here. Again, for some reason, the gunnery crews on the two cruisers right here need more practice because their offshore bombardment missed. And in the end, though, the U.S. attack went in. They had, so they went in with 4 infantry, 2 artillery, 3 tanks, 2 fighters, a jet, 2 strategic bombers. In the end, they were able to kill the 12 enemy infantry. However, they did lose the 4 infantry from the 26th Infantry Division, and they also lost an artillery. And then the 4 regiments of the U.S. 90th Infantry Division, with the battleship supporting, and the jet out of northern Italy, launched an amphibious assault to retake Istanbul. The battleship, they also need some gunnery practice because their gunnery missed. The Soviets had 2 mechanized infantry defending the territory. They were wiped out. However, 2 regiments from the 90th Division were unfortunately lost. And then the Americans did do a walk-on. They took their mech from Jordan and captured Saudi Arabia and added the 3 IPC for oil to their bank. Non-combat, the U.S. flew the 11th Airborne Division and the 44th Infantry Division here to Cairo. They sea-lifted the 30th Division, the 30th Mechanized Division, and tanks here to Syria. They railed these 2 AAA from Cairo up there. They also, in Berlin, they did some rearranging. So they did deactivate, I believe it was the 85th Infantry Division there, and merged those 2 units in with the 6th Infantry Division, and then kept the newly arrived, and then flew in the 35th Infantry Division from the build queue there. So those units got flown in to Berlin because, as we can see, there is a large Soviet force gathering here in Stettin, preparing to possibly take offensive action against the German capital. But we will have to see. All right, and then and then there were some transports here that the U.S. Moved back to help possibly ferry troops around in the coming turns. Alright, so then at the end of the turn, the U.S. collected 82 IPC. NATO also had 79 to spend. They repaired the 5 damage to Holland, as well as buying 2 mech and 2 tank for there. They also bought 2 mech and 2 self-propelled guns for Belgium, and then built a fighter in Paris while saving 2 IPC. NATO did not conduct any combat this turn. They decided to hold their ground and reconsolidate. They moved the 4 infantry from Reims into Munich. They reconstituted the Army of the Rhine here in West Germany. On the card right here. So we got 3 infantry, 4 mech, 4 tanks, and a self-propelled gun. NATO also building up the Berlin defenses. They brought in the 2 fighters they bought from Paris to reinforce the garrison there. Brought in 2 mech from Belgium as well to beef up the defenses there as well, and brought the air transport just on the off chance that maybe they could conduct some airborne operations coming up in the later turns. They also took, well, no, that happened last turn. They are still keeping that tank here in Narvik, and now because it is March and the sea lanes are open in sea zones 3, 4, 10, and 11, NATO moved their small detachment out of the Barents Sea, and brought it back to Sea Zone 7. And yeah, that was pretty much it for NATO. So then at the end of the turn, they collected 84 IPC plus the 2 they saved. So they got 86. All right. Well, that is it for turn 14. We are moving on to turn 15. So, like I said, we will continue to roll the random events to see if maybe we'll get, see if the random event ending the war is rolled. So we'll go. I'll just grab another one of my lucky, or one of our Soviet 12-sided dice, and let's see what the random event is. And there it is. All right. Well, the random event 12. So because the Soviets have been facing a land invasion from both areas, Comrade Stalin was overthrown by the Politburo, and we will say, well, I guess we can say, well, here's what we'll do. We'll go by what the book said. So, minor spoilers if you were intending to read the book. The U.S. developed the hydrogen bomb, and then they find out where Stalin is hiding, and they drop a hydrogen bomb on him, killing him. Thus, Molotov takes control of the government, and Molotov sues for peace, which results in a second Treaty of Versailles that ends the war. So, with that being the variable ending, what transpires and what happens in the novels is that everything goes back to the status quo antebellum. So basically, NATO would move all of its forces back into their zones. The Soviets would reclaim their zones. The Soviets would vacate Greece. As far as the Middle East, the Soviets would not be getting those back because this is all pre-war. They would go back to the pre-war lines. So basically all the Middle Eastern nations now fall under Western control. And then obviously the U.S. forces would vacate the Baku the Caucasus and the Baku region, come back to Kars before eventual demobilizations and possibly being redeployed, maybe to the Korean theater, as China will still continue fighting the war, or those units will be demobilized and sent home. Well then, like I said, I guess that's actually it for the game. I will do a video shortly, kind of going over the game and what worked, what didn't work, and what to expect if I do this sort of scenario again. So until then, guys, as always, take care.